Hey guys, thank you all so much for watching the Chen Dynasty. I'm Mikexingchen. China is a country with more than 5,000 years of civilization, with a large number of stories, myths, and legends that were passed down from generation to generations. Because, well, Chinese people, we love stories, especially touching ones that get us right in the feels. Much like Romeo and Juliet and other Shakespearean stories, these Chinese tales were often sweet and, of course, tragic. So bring out those tissues and ice cream, have a seat, and let me tell you about the 4 greatest Chinese love stories ever told. Number 1, the Butterfly Lovers. This first story is often known as the Legend of the Butterfly Lovers, or Liangzhu. It's one of the 4 greatest folk tales of Chinese history and tells the story of an unbreakable bond between 2 lovers, Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai. You see, Zhu Yingtai was an extremely talented girl who was her family's 9th child and only daughter. Yingtai loved learning from a young age, but in ancient China, schools did not accept female students. So in order to pursue her love for learning and knowledge, Yingtai disguised herself as a boy and attended a school in the city of Hangzhou. At school, Yingtai met a boy named Liang Shanbo, and they soon became good friends. Not long after, the 2 friends became sworn brothers and studied, played, ate, lived, did everything together. After 3 years of studying at the school, Yingtai fell madly in love with Shanbo. But Shanbo never for once thought that Yingtai was actually a beautiful young woman. Yingtai tried to make it obvious that she was in love with him, but Shanbo never noticed or always misunderstood. And of course, with good times, it always goes by quickly. So in a blink of an eye, it was time for Yingtai to leave the academy. She had to hurry home to her sick father who needed her to care for him. In order to see her off, Shanbo walked with Yingtai for 5.5 miles of her journey. And during the walk, both Yingtai and Shanbo were burdened with the pain of separation. As they walked, they passed by a stream, and Yingtai saw a pair of mandarin ducks swimming together. She threw a branch at them and watching them fly off in different directions. She then told Shanbo that the 2 of them were like the mandarin ducks, soon to separate in flight. You see, she said this because in China, mandarin ducks represent the love between a man and a woman. So even after she dropped this monumental hint, Shanbo failed to realize that she was trying to tell him something. So Yingtai could do nothing but ask him to visit her someday. The moment of departure finally came, and in tears they bid each other goodbye. Thankfully, Yingtai was a smart girl, and she had already planned on telling Shanbo that she was in fact a young woman all along. So before she left the academy, she told her teacher's wife to tell Shanbo after she left in case he didn't get the clue through his head. But alas, fate is always cruel, especially when it comes to starstruck lovers. Shanbo, receiving the message that Yingtai was actually a girl, left the academy to propose to her, but in the meantime, events were happening in Yingtai's life as well. You see, after Yingtai returned home, her father recovered from his illness and told her that she was to be wed to Ma Wencai, a gifted son of a powerful provincial governor. So when Shanbo rushed to Yingtai's home to ask for her hand in marriage, Yingtai, burdened with her family's expectations, was unable to accept his proposal. Shanbo was at loss for words, and the silence between the 2 was crushingly painful. Shanbo was denied of his first love, and as a man who was completely devoted to Yingtai, he was never able to recover. He was soon so devastated that he fell ill and passed away. Yingtai was completely torn and broken when she found out about Shanbo's death, because as we know, in her heart, she loved Shanbo just as much as he loved her, and her devotion to him was undeniable. She vowed to bring her love for him to the grave. Sadly, the engagement to Wencai was something that her family expected her to do, so Yingtai agreed to marry Wencai on one condition. The marriage procession had to pass by Shanbo's grave so she could pray before his tomb. Wencai, after hearing of Yingtai's wish, felt her everlasting love for Shanbo and agreed. And when the procession passed by Shanbo's grave, the weather changed from sunny to stormy. Yingtai crumpled and wept before Shanbo's grave under the pouring rain, crying about how they would never meet again. Suddenly, lightning struck and split open the earth in front of Shanbo's tomb, and Yingtai fell into the abyss. As quickly as the ground split open, it closed just as rapidly. Everyone was of course in a panic trying to save Yingtai until suddenly the sky became clear again and 2 beautiful butterflies fluttered out of Shanbo's tomb, dancing and twirling into the heavens. This tale passed on through the ages as the story of Liang Shanbo, one devoted to pure love, and Zhu Yingtai, one who followed him to his grave. Next is a love story about a cowherd named Nolong and a heavenly weaver maiden named Junior, also one of China's 4 great folk tales. The story has been passed down in China for over 2,600 years. According to legend, Nolong was a poor yet honest cowherd who had a heart of gold and lived a simple life that included farming and herding cattle. His parents passed away when he was young, so he was alone and couldn't find a woman to marry him. Junior was the youngest daughter of the heavenly king and was supremely talented at weaving anything she wished, from skies to 7-colored rainbows. One day, Nolong spotted Junior when she was descending to earth to play. For Nolong, it was love at first sight, and he couldn't help but be astonished at Junior's beauty. And of course, being Asian, he was shy and couldn't muster the courage to go talk to her, so one of the cows actually told him, yeah, cows can speak back then in this story. The cow spoke to him and told him that Junior was a weaver maiden in heaven, and in order for him to get her to stay on earth and marry him, he had to steal her dress so she couldn't go back to heaven. Sounds pretty creepy, right? But guys do stupid things when it comes to love, so Nolong did just that, and when Junior's time of heavenly return has already passed, while she was looking for her dress, he walked out of hiding and returned her dress to her, asking her if she would marry him. Junior saw his kindness and agreed to marry him. I don't know why, because he stole your dress, and they lived a happy life together on his farm. Junior weaved for Nolong and turned his hut into a beautiful home, and 2 years later, the couple gave birth to a baby boy and girl. Now, time works differently between heaven and earth, and as soon as Junior's sisters returned to heaven and the heavenly king realized that his daughter had married a mortal man, he was pretty upset. He sent an army of soldiers down to earth to bring her back, and they did just as they were asked. Nolong saw what happened and chased after the soldiers with his children in baskets over his shoulder. Just as he was about to catch up with them, the heavenly queen threw her hairpin in front of Nolong and separated the two. Now you might be thinking, well, just a little hairpin, but in this case, the hairpin transformed into a river and prevented Nolong from reaching his wife, and the river eventually turned into the Milky Way. Nolong and Junior cried for each other, and their great love moved the hearts of the swallows who were watching. The swallows formed a bridge with their bodies so the couple could cross the heavenly river to see each other. Seeing how much they truly loved each other, the heavenly queen allowed them to meet, but only once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th month. Now, of course, on that very day, there is a festival known as the Qixi Festival that celebrates the couple's everlasting love and longing for each other. If it is rainy on this day, then it represents the washing away of the heavenly bridge, or the tears of the couple during their separation. The next story starts out in Emei or Mount Emei, where there lived 2 snakes, White Snake and Black Snake. Both snakes had magical powers and turned themselves into beautiful girls. The white snake was called Bai Su Zhen and the black snake was named Xiao Qing. One day, they decided to visit West Lake or Xihu of Hangzhou and were entranced by the beautiful scenery. And while walking on Duanqiao Bridge in West Lake, they met a young man named Xu Xian, who White Snake immediately fell in love with. Because thousands of years ago, while the white snake was only a snake, Xu Xian saved her when she was about to die. The white snake always wanted to repay his kindness, so as soon as she saw him, she fell madly in love with him. To help her sister, the black snake did some matchmaking, and soon the two were married. During the couple's marriage ceremony, the abbot Fa Hai, who was from a Buddhist temple called Jinshan Temple, sensed something was strange about White Snake. He soon found out that she was indeed a snake that transformed into a woman and decided to do something about it. After they were married, Xu Xian and the White Snake opened a medicine shop together, and they were very happy. Because you see, not only was the White Snake beautiful, she had a very kind heart, and the couple loved each other dearly, and soon she was pregnant with Xu Xian's child. But one day, Fa Hai found Xu Xian and warned him that his pregnant wife was actually a snake. He of course didn't believe him. Fa Hai told him to feed an alcoholic drink to his wife to test and see if she was really a snake. So on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, Xu Xian brought the drink to his wife and told her to drink with him. When Su Zhen took a sip of the beverage, she became immediately ill. She said she did not feel good, so retreated to into her bedroom. But when Xu Xian went to check up on his wife, she was no longer there, and in her place was a giant white snake. Xu Xian was so shocked that he fell to the floor and died. After the beverage's effect faded, Su Zhen woke up to find her husband dead beside her. She was heartbroken, but she knew that a herb on Kunlun Mountain could save him. She flew to the mountain and retrieved the herb, but the white crane and heavenly guards were protecting the herb, and as a result, a battle ensued. Just as Su Zhen was about to lose, the immortal of the South End stopped the fight and gave Su Zhen the herb because he was astounded by her love and perseverance. Su Zhen brought the herb back home and restored Xu Xian's life. When he recovered from the illness, Xu Xian remembered that his wife was a snake and went to seek Fa Hai at the temple for help. To separate him from his wife, Fa Hai imprisoned Xu Xian in Jinshan Temple. In order to rescue him, Su Zhen and her sister used their powers to flood the temple, which destroyed many lives and the livelihood in the nearby area. But soon, Su Zhen was also captured by Fa Hai and imprisoned under the Thunder Peak Pagoda by West Lake. Although there are many variations of the story, it was said that the whole family was eventually reunited. One ending states that Bai Su Zhen's son Xu Mengjiao topped the imperial exam and went to pay respects to his mother at the pagoda. His filial piety moved the heavens and freed Su Zhen from her imprisonment. Another version said that Bai Su Zhen's sister Black Snake used magic on the pagoda for several years and finally managed to destroy it, freeing her. I guess either one of these variations will work for me because they seem to all have a happy ending, which is rare when it comes to Chinese love stories. And finally, our last story, Lady Mengjiang's Tears. One Chinese legend speaks of Lady Mengjiang, a lady who is said to have lived more than 2,200 years ago during the Qing dynasty. Once upon a time, a family with the surname Hmong planted a gourd plant within their residence, and soon its vines stretched over the neighbor's fence. The neighbors were the Jiang family, and soon a huge gourd grew at the fence of the Jiang's residence. Out of the gourd came a beautiful little girl who was named Mengjiang. Mengjiang was so beautiful that she was comparable to a heavenly maiden. Not only that, she created poetry, music, and was blessed with great compassion and virtue. During that time of the Qing dynasty, the first emperor was very cruel and subjected young men to slave labor, making them build the Great Wall of China. The emperor Qin Shi Huang didn't care whether or not they died, and as expected, many people did. One scholar named Fan Xiliang ran away from home when he heard that he was going to become a slave for the emperor. He hid at the back of the Hmong family garden one day, and Lady Mengjiang found him and brought him to her father. Her father was very kind, so he offered to help Xiliang hide from the government. After staying at their household for a period of time, the Hmong family realized that Xiliang had all the qualities of a good husband, so they arranged for Mengjiang to marry him. However, 3 days after their wedding, Xiliang was taken away by officials who found his hiding spot, and he was taken to the Great Wall. Mengjiang waited for an entire year in sorrow, and many days her pillow would be drenched in her tears. Impatient, she decided to go look for her husband. Mengjiang traveled to the Great Wall all by herself, and she suffered a great deal throughout the whole trip. She walked all day, and the only food she had was cold bread and water from the streams as she passed. But no matter what kind of weather, she continued to walk on. Mengjiang finally arrived at the wall on an autumn day, and she immediately asked the nearby workers about her husband. Tragically, she heard that her husband died a few days ago and was buried underneath the wall. Mengjiang was struck by overwhelming sorrow and cried non-stop on the top of the wall. Her tears wouldn't stop streaming, and she wept and mourned for her husband's death as well as her unfortunate fate. All the workers and guards who witnessed the scene could not help but be moved. They shed tears with her and felt her incredible sorrow. Suddenly, a part of the Great Wall collapsed as if hearing her cries. It revealed piles of human remains beneath it, and among them she saw the remains of her husband. It was said that that part of the Great Wall that collapsed due to her tears could never be rebuilt again. So there you go, guys. Those are some of the most popular love stories from Chinese history. And next time you're walking on the Great Wall, just remember you're pretty much walking on a massive grave. I mean, that whole thing about workers building the Great Wall and when they died, it just kind of got buried underneath the Great Wall. Yeah, that part's real. Also, the story of the White Snake by She Zhuan, one of my favorite TV series ever. Like when I was watching it when I was young, Man, I was sobbing. That thing was so sad. And I refused to watch the new TV series about the butterfly lovers because I know eventually I'm gonna feel like poo. So why would I want to even start that? All right, guys, let me know your thoughts about these stories. Were you moved at all? Were you tearing up a little bit? Did it get you in the feels just a little bit? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. See ya.